All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. My name is Kim Hornstein. I'm the admissions officer at UConn Stamford. It's very exciting to see so many familiar names. Usually I say, oh, some familiar faces, but now this year it is names. So thank you all for taking time to join us for this special presentation. We have two staff and faculty with us today, Heather and Matthew, who are going to dive deep into digital media and design and answer all of your questions. We're going to allow everybody a couple minutes to get situated. Remember, audience members, we can't see or hear you, so grab your dinner, grab a cup of, maybe it's too warm out now for hot chocolate, maybe some iced tea, and maybe something to take notes on, get situated, and we will get started in just a couple moments. Welcome, everybody. We're very excited that you're here with us to spend some time on this Tuesday sunny afternoon to learn more about UConn Stamford, and specifically digital media and design. I know a lot of you have tons of questions for us, so there is that great chat or Q&A box to the bottom right-hand side of your screen. At any time, feel free to type in your questions and we will try to get to all of them at the end of our presentation this evening. Welcome, everybody. This program does work best in Google Chrome. So if you're not in Google Chrome, if you want to log out and log back in, I am going to allow everybody a minute or two to get situated. I know some of you have been staring at the computer screen all day if you're still doing remote learning or maybe at work. And so feel free to grab some food, get a notebook, a pen, and hang tight with us for the next 55 minutes or an hour. We are excited to have you all. Just gonna give everybody a minute or two to get situated and then we will get started. I am so excited that all of you are here. This is our first special presentation of digital media and design, and our presentation this evening will be recorded. So if you miss something or have to leave early, we can definitely send you the recording. The recording will live on our webpage. Welcome, we're very excited that all of you are here with us, and we are going to get started to be mindful of everybody's time. Well, good evening, welcome. We are very excited you're here. I don't know if we have any international students, and maybe it's not evening where you are. So welcome, and thank you all for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedules to learn more about UConn Stamford, and digital media and design. Tonight's program, we have about a 15 to 20 minute or so presentation, and then the rest of the time will be left for your questions. So participants, please feel free to type in your questions at any time, and we will get to them at the end. All right, let's get started. Heather and Matt, I'm going to turn it over to both of you. Do you want to take a minute to introduce yourselves and then get started?
Sure, absolutely. I'm Heather Elliott Familaro, and I'm the department head for digital media and design, and for both the Storrs and Stanford campus. So I'm so excited to welcome our Stanford students today.
And my name is Matthew Word. I'm the Associate Director of Digital Media and Design, and I'm primarily centered at the UConn Stamford campus. That's important because those of you who are coming to UConn Stamford will primarily be interacting with me during your time over the next 4 years.
All right, Matt, you want to take it over?
Yes, we will take it over. So this presentation is designed to provide you with an overview of our department, but hopefully, as Kimberly referenced, you've got some pencils and paper and you can take down some notes and ask us questions about this presentation as we come to an end. So the big takeaway with our department, which we are very proud of, is that we implement a one vision, two campus model. And what that means is, even though you'll be situated at UConn Stamford, our curriculum, faculty, and most importantly, our value systems remain the same. Throughout the concentrations, faculty regularly interact with each other across both campuses, and I myself am currently teaching a Storrs-based course, and I know some of my colleagues are also teaching Storrs and Stanford-based courses. So wherever we're placed, it doesn't matter, we do implement this one vision, two campus model. Now, as part of that, we offer a full degree in digital media at the UConn Stamford campus. There are 5 concentrations that you can complete at UConn Stamford. So here's a list of those concentrations. We offer motion design and animation, digital film and video production, web and interactive media design. And those top three are our BFA degrees, Bachelor of Fine Arts. Please ask us questions about the difference between a BFA and a BA at the end of this session. The latter is Digital Media Business Strategies. As I referenced, that's a BA. We offer Digital Culture, Learning and Advocacy. That's a BA. And then we also have the Digital Media and Design Generalist degree. That's a BA. And we consider that degree particularly ideal for transfers and those of you that might be wanting to take a minor or even do a double major. So the UConn Stamford DMD program, hopefully you're all here to secure that employment after graduation. And when it comes to our program, we are laser focused on current and emerging careers in both entertainment, design and communications, digital business and social media analytics, some of the STEM fields, particularly the visualization in the sciences, and also creative technology, creative technologists. This is how we're interacting with physical computing and coding. And again, if you've got questions about that particular area, we will be happy to provide you with those answers at the end of the presentation. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to our department head, Heather Elliott Familaro. We're tag teaming on this presentation. So Heather, over to you.
Like everything we do, Matt, right? So I think one of the biggest things that we're most proud of is our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion within our department. And I think a lot of this comes out from the knowledge that we are a department that is teaching majors that is in an area that there's not a lot of representation. So we're really excited about how we can bring different students' perspectives, whether that be gender or ethnicity or religion or background. All of that is really important, and especially for our first generation college students. And one of the things we've done for that, I have some links here, but you can find this at our dmd.uconn.edu/diverse, is we've hosted a Diverse Perspectives in Digital Media and Design speaker series this spring, and it's great for everyone. I encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and check that out. We also have a Let's Talk Media series that we've produced with Digital Media Connecticut, particularly an episode on racial consciousness. And we also have a Select CT pod series where we have some awesome, amazing other speakers. So we're really trying to get content and also grow the Connecticut industry and provide a welcoming environment. Next. Oops. And back to what Matt was saying earlier about the degrees. So we have two different degrees. The BFA is considered the professional arts degree by our accreditor, the National Association of Schools of Arts and Design, which has 78 credits in the major. That's all of the DMD courses that you'll be taking, art and DMD classes. And then we also have the Bachelor of Arts, which is, like Matt said, ideal for students that want a double major or minor. Now, what is unique about DMD? If you're looking at a bunch of schools out there, I think one of the things that makes us most important is that we have more than 70 distinctive undergraduate courses in digital media and design, both a mix of studio and lecture-based courses. This is really important because this means that you're getting thorough training from the intro level all the way to the advanced level. So every single semester of your 8 years here, or your 8 semesters here, you're going to be able to be taking DMD courses. We also have an emphasis on collaboration and teamwork from the very, very start with the class that Matt teaches in Foundations. And we also have client and community partnerships that happen throughout. So you're really getting real world experience that leads to a great portfolio and also to a great resume. Finally, go ahead, advance, because I'll talk a little bit about the first year. So this is one of the things we're most proud of. We just recently designed, it was launched in fall of 2019, a brand new 4-course foundation sequence. And so we have a 2-course sequence on concept and practice of digital media approaches, which really focus on problem solving, concept development, and storytelling, collaboration, a lot of the soft skills that are going to give you that edge to get a great industry job. We jump right in and start that at the beginning of your freshman year. And then in correlation with that, we also have Design Lab 1 and Design Lab 2, where you're getting in-depth Adobe Photoshop for raster imagery and Illustrator for vector. You even start working in Premiere and After Effects to start moving that imagery as well. But we believe very strongly that all the elements and principles of design can be taught digitally, which is very, very different from most traditional art programs, which have a focus on analog tools. I know if you're a BFA, you also get your Drawing 1 class in that first year. I saw, Gary, you had a question. This is great. We have excellent advisors that will help you choose your concentration and your classes in the summer when you get here. So the great part is you may have already signed up for the BA or the BFA. We have an identical course sequence, so it doesn't matter. You can switch that later. So no worries about that. And you don't have to decide on which concentration you want yet. We try to encourage everyone to select that by the end of their freshman year so that they can be registered for the fall of their sophomore year classes. But we really try to dabble and give a good introduction to the different majors your freshman year. So you don't have to be pressured to feel like you have to decide today what you're going to do for the rest of your life. You have plenty of time for that. And then in the orientation in the summer, you're going to get that hands-on help to help you choose your schedule, which will be that 1001 class, the 1101 design lab, and then your other classes that you need. We talked about the beginning, but at the end of this, you have your senior capstone. So if you're a BFA major, you're going to take 2 semesters of senior project, which allows you to work for 9 months on the same continuous senior project in the medium of your choice, and then has a public exhibition and gallery reception at the Jorgensen Gallery and the Stanford Art Gallery. And you can actually see the work from last year if you go to this URL, dmd.uconn.edu/BFA show, and you'll be able to see the work that was produced last year by our graduating seniors. And soon we'll be up in just a couple weeks are this year's seniors. The other awesome piece we have is an award-winning student agency in Stanford that's called Beach Ball. And we have such an incredible relationship with all of our wonderful partners that Matt's going to tell you about later. But the thing that's cool is I like to call this our introduction internship in a class, because you're basically creating an incredible professional product that is being shared with the larger community. These are all big clients. So for example, this was for the Spirit of the Sound at the Maritime Museum. And this is your opportunity to work on a team, create a professional product, have a piece in your resume, and it's all done in your class, in your DMD 4040 agency class. And then you're ready and set to go on an internship your senior year. And the students are entering their final projects in awards all around the country. You can see some of them here and the world. And this has led us to this incredible ranking with the Animation Career Review for 31st of National Public Schools, the top 35%, number 20 on the East Coast, and number 1 in Connecticut for animation and game design. So we're really proud about that.
So switching away from the program and some things for you to think about as we start preparing to start the program in the fall semester. So we've got, this is very important. Again, please, this is probably something for your notebooks for you to ask us later, but we do have some requirements for all of our students in the major. The first one is that all students are required to purchase a laptop, and not just any laptop, a laptop that meets the specifications for running the Adobe software. Now, we quite often get questions about whether it should be a PC or an Apple computer. We're happy to address those questions in the follow-up, but the big takeaway is having the capacity to run the Adobe software. We will probably share this afterwards, but that URL there, dmd.uconn.edu/computer requirements, you can visit that URL and you can get more information about the computer specifications. The other things to think about is, as students in the DMD major, we do have a look at holding you accountable. So we have a requirement that all of our students have an overall 2.7 GPA. So when I say overall GPA, what we're talking about is your GPA for not just DMD classes, but also your general education classes, which might be math classes, lab classes, history classes, etc. But within the DMD classes that you're taking as part of your major, we do have an expectation that you have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. And more information about this can be found in the UConn catalog that outlines some other systems that we look to as we try and have our students meet the expectations of our major. For the full 2021 experience, this is obviously very important given the situation that we are all facing at this time. UConn as a university is planning for a mix of in-person and distant learning. The university, of course, is on its way to offering more in-person classes, but we're not anticipating that all of the classes at the university will be offered in person in the fall. What we're looking at doing is some of our, like the university, some of our classes will be held in person and others will be held online. The classes that you will be taking in the fall semester, one of them is DMD 1001, which Heather has already spoken about. We'll be offering one of these sections in person, but then we also have an online version for those of you that may not be wanting to engage in in-person classes quite yet. And then our other DMD requirement for all new students will be conducted online in the fall semester. We can't get too much about social distancing. We expect those rules to continue to change, but of course, if you have questions, we'll try and do our best to answer them in the post-presentation briefing. Now, of course, this is the really exciting part. Heather made some references about some of the work that you'll be doing within your classes and also some of the work you'll be doing as you kind of as a culminating experience for the program. But the University of Connecticut, and this is a very important takeaway, is a research institution. Quite often we don't necessarily think about what a research one institution means. There's only two research one institutions in the state of Connecticut, UConn and Yale University. And the big takeaway is that faculty are engaged in research projects, and also the community looks toward the university to help address problems and engage in community outreach to take their expertise out of the classroom and into the community. And so here's some examples of some research collaborations that have taken place over the last few years. You can see on the left of the screen, we've got our work with the Bushnell Theatre, in fact, on this presentation in general, and that's projection mapping. And so students in motion design and animation, as well as web and interactive media, and possibly some 3D, have opportunities to engage in these projects on these projection mapping projects. Another thing we've got, we just finished this over the summer at UConn Stamford, we've received some funding to implement something called the Co-Action Lab. And so these are two projects that the faculty, my colleagues, worked on over the summer. On the left of the screen, we worked with an education nonprofit to try and create an augmented reality experience to support a high school science class on DNA. And then on the right of the screen, we worked with the Stanford Symphony Orchestra. That's, I think it's the third time we've actually worked with them. And that was to actually help promote a virtual gala that they were running in the fall semester. Both of these projects were super well received. And the most important thing is that both of these projects were implemented in the field. So it's not just a case of engaging in a real world experience and then it coming to nothing. You're actually producing an outcome that is going out into the real world. And of course, that's fantastic experience for your resume. And one of the projects that our department is particularly proud of, perhaps because it was one of our first projects that we engaged with as the department was founded, is the Boston Children's Hospital. And this is a 30-foot tall interactive media wall. You know, it is somewhat of a sad story in terms of the problem that it's trying to address. There's some very sick patients that are coming through Boston Children's Hospital, but the problem that these designers were tasked with facing is to provide an interactive experience that just for a moment takes them away for the reasons why they're visiting that hospital. And the other exciting thing about this particular project is it was an example of the transdisciplinary nature of our department. You have interactive media, motion designers, 3D artists, creative technologists, all coming together to try and put together this huge interactive media wall. Now, shifting gears away from research now, just thinking about how wonderful our department is in terms of its connection with industry and also the organizations and companies that are available in Stanford. These are some internship highlights. So we've kind of like identified some recognized brands to where students are engaged in internships. Again, we'll be happy to take questions about internships at the end of this presentation. You know, digital media jobs are in high demand. Don't let anyone fool you. You know, there is a lot. Unlike when I first came to Stanford about 6-7 years ago, I felt like I was like the new kid on the block. Everyone was wanting to kind of connect with me, engage with me, have conversations with me. The need for practitioners and people skilled in digital media is immense, and it's only continuing to grow. Our relationship, or rather our location and connection to New York City, cannot be emphasized enough. We have students that are living in Stanford and working in New York City, and we're also actually having some students and professionals now living in New York City and coming up and working in Connecticut as well. The industry is constantly evolving. There's obviously a need to understand how to solve problems. We need to keep engaging in new technology skills. And the big thing that we're super proud about within our department is we're producing generalists that have the capacity to operate in a variety of different fields within the industry. So in terms of DMD jobs, I mean, this is a fantastic statistic. We're proud of this statistic. If you think about the DMD undergraduates tracked since 2016, 81% of them are fully employed in their field within 6 months of graduation. And don't underestimate the word in their field. What we're talking about is that they're working in digital media. They're applying the skills that they've learned as part of the DMD program, and they're out there in the industry, entry-level jobs, getting paid for it, and to some extent, some really good salaries as well. And they're working with major corporations, startups, small businesses, agencies, a whole variety of different companies all our students are working with. And again, we're happy to provide some specific examples post-presentation. So just to wrap up this information that we're sharing with you, facilities, location, I've made a little bit of a reference about the location. I will come back to it in a moment. UConn Stamford, the campus is growing immensely. It continues to grow despite the pandemic. I know Kimberly continues to be overwhelmed each year with the number of applications that are coming her way. As you know, we've got the capacity for housing. Again, pandemic, somewhat has kind of like stumped that a little bit. New buildings we're moving into. And in terms of our department, we have a film production studio. We have a social media analytics command center. Happy to take more questions about that at the end. We call it SMAC for short. We have high-end Mac computers, a physical computing lab, and then we have things such as the splash pad, which in essence is the media cage. It's where our students can go and rent out equipment. And in fact, that might be another thing to take for your notes. What equipment do we have available for students as well? And then the other piece that I do want to highlight from a Stanford perspective, at the very bottom, you can see the innovation collaborative space. We call it the ICS space. And this is a kind of interdisciplinary space that exists at UConn Stanford. Super exciting because it's where some of our DMD students go to play, interact, do work, but they're sitting alongside computer science students and business analytics students. And that is where you really get a sense of a nice small community where you've got all these different skill sets coming together to kind of like generate ideas and kind of like set up new ventures. And there's some wonderful stories that we can share about that as well. So I mentioned location. We don't want to talk much more about the location, but it really can't be emphasized enough. I quite often talk about our campus being the city of Stanford per se. When we think about Stanford connections, these are some of the companies that we've referenced, some of them that you may recognize, others you may not. I will point out that some of the ones you may not recognize are actually some of the biggest employers of digital media talent. If you take the third on the list being Henkel, that's a consumer products company. You're like, okay, they make consumer products. What's that about? Well, we work really closely with the hair and beauty division, and the hair and beauty division is actually just established a social media department and also a content producing department. So they're working their YouTube channels, generating YouTube series, and they're looking to our students to employ both as interns, but also entry-level positions as well. And the final piece that I want to reference about this list here is that because of our location to industry, we've been very fortunate in bringing adjuncts to the UConn Stamford campus as well. I can't stress that enough. That is fantastic, being in a position where we have an industry professional working 9 to 5, and then from 5:30 to 8:30, they're making a 5-minute walk from their building and teaching students in their classroom. And I will say that I know that a number of those students have been employed as a consequence of people that they've met in that classroom. So we're wrapping up now. This is an image of the rest of our faculty. Of course, it's only me and Heather today, but we're a large growing department, 26 full-time faculty. We have 3 staff, and we're very proud of the fact that we have 7 bilingual faculty. That's the languages that we speak across the department. And again, the big takeaway is that it doesn't matter whether you've got faculty based in stores in Stanford, you will most likely interact with each one of these during your 4 years here at UConn Stanford. All right, so take down any email addresses. As I said, my name is Matthew Werwoods. You've got our email address. Wanda Palmer is going to be a very important person, particularly those of you who are transfers and wanting to bring in some courses from outside UConn. I highly encourage you to engage with Wanda to make sure you understand that system. And as you know, we've got our department head, Elliott Familaro, who is closely working with us as well. Here's some of our websites, and please, please, please follow us on social media. If you really want to get a sense of how cool and exciting we are, we have got so much information coming to you every week on our social media channels. All right, so that is our presentation finished, done. And so now, Kimberly, we can turn it over to you to help facilitate some questions from our audience.
Thank you so much, Matt and Heather. When I have the opportunity, the exciting opportunity to present with both of you, I can just hear your passion and your excitement about our Stanford campus, about our digital media and design department, about the resources and opportunities for our students, and how much passion you have for assisting our students on their college journey. So thank you both. Before we get started on questions, I definitely want you to know how appreciative we are that you are here with us this evening, sharing some insight, sharing a little bit about everything that there is about the Stanford campus, the city of Stanford, and specifically digital media and design. So audience members, this is your time. I know our team touched upon a little bit of everything. We talked about orientation, we talked about classes, we talked about internships. What more questions do you all have? I have lots of questions that I wrote down because every time I hear new information, I have follow-up questions. So I can definitely ask some questions, but this is for all of you. So what questions do you have? I know some questions came in, so I'm going to start with those. But again, the Q&A box is the best way to type in your questions, so that way we can address everything that you all want to know. You all took the time to be with us, so these questions should be for all of you. All right, so I just wanted to talk about the steps in the process. So a lot of our students are newly admitted, so congratulations. We are so excited, and all of you should feel so proud of yourself. UConn is such a competitive school, and you worked really hard to get to where you are, so congratulations. Once you decide that UConn Stanford or UConn any of our campuses is the right fit for you, you will go into your student portal. You will pay the $400 enrollment deposit that will hold your spot at UConn, and that will also allow you to start the process to sign up for your classes. So once students decide that they want to be a Husky, yay, go Huskies, then students will receive an email from our student services team about orientation. At orientation is when you'll meet with an advisor, you'll pick your classes, and you'll learn more about the resources at UConn Stamford. So I just kind of wanted to explain the big process, and we are here to help. We have an accepted students next step presentations through the admissions office. You can reach out to us with any questions, but I want to make sure that everybody knows you have to pay that deposit before you'll hear more about orientation, meeting with an advisor, and picking your classes. So Matt, I'm going to turn this one over to you. So our next question, I know you had ended the presentation about internships. And so one of our questions that came in is about a student wondering, can you only have an internship your senior year, which I think we started the senior capstone project, or do students in the digital media and design program, or even students at UConn, have internships throughout their 4 years at UConn Stanford?
Oh, you're muted, Matt. You should be there. I can start.
I got it. So
Okay.
I was going to say the quick answer was yes to all of the above. You know, it's very difficult when I get those questions not to put the advisor hat on. I think that circumstances somewhat come into play here. I actually think in the senior year, typically some of our students have kind of transitioned out of a junior internship, and that internship is beginning to move toward a part-time or even a full-time employment. And that can be very difficult for some of the students to balance. But really that senior year is about looking towards securing an entry-level job post-graduation. Internships is typically something that we're trying to encourage our rising sophomores and juniors to be participating, because in the senior year, you do, particularly those of you who are going to be in your BFA track, you have a very busy year. You've got your senior project that really should be putting a lot of time and dedication to that senior project and preparation for the exhibition. So I would say from sophomore year onwards, you would not really see DMD faculty promoting internships during the fall semester. I think the second part is in terms of how you secure that internship. And what I would say to you is there's kind of three things to be aware of. First of all, the UConn Stamford has very, very active Career Center. I think there's 3 staff in the Career Center, and they are regularly engaging with our industry partners and businesses in the local area. They are securing those internship opportunities for our students, and those internship opportunities typically get on a website called Handshake. We'll stop there. You will get some training in Handshake, but that is where you can go. Imagine kind of like a search engine, Googling digital media jobs, and you will see some digital media jobs in Stanford. Of course, there's also companies that reach out to us, and sometimes we connect some of our students to internship opportunities. But what I want everyone coming into the program to understand is that internships won't come to you. There are internship opportunities. If you engage with the process and you engage with it thoroughly, you will most likely secure an internship. I don't think I know of a student who hasn't tried to secure an internship, a paid internship, and hasn't been successful in doing that. But I do know 1 or 2 students who have not engaged in the process, and they have not engaged in an internship. So I do want to make sure that everyone understands we don't give you internships, but they are available.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that too. I think one of the things that's really important with the internship piece is that we have high standards for the partnership. So we're looking for companies and experts in the field that are going to act as your mentors. So you're not just going to do flyers for some company. That doesn't qualify as an internship. The educational piece is really important for that. And we're in the midst right now of actually sort of reworking all of those as a way of building that up. But it's absolutely true. We get students, you know, even at the sophomore, especially like sophomore summer. And that's the thing that's great. I mean, Matt can't emphasize enough, like the fact that you can literally walk around the city of Stanford to your job. I mean, it's just something we can't do in stores. So it's a really wonderful opportunity, and you can hop on the Metro North. We've got the U-Pass, which is free in the state of Connecticut for any college students to drive the Metro North. So, well, you got to pay when you get into New York State. But, you know, there's so many opportunities even along the coast there, you know, from New Haven all the way through to Fairfield. So it's just a really, really great opportunity. I did stick a link in there. I hope you can see that. But the other thing I will say is that Matt and I both work really closely with career services. In fact, both of the lead people of the career services sent our kids and graduated and from our program in the last 3 years. So, and they're all doing well and are well employed. So that they are big fans of us as career services. But I just learned of these resources that just came out 2 weeks ago, these new affinity career communities that are online. If you go into that website, you can go and dive deep, and there's a ton of data on there. So when Matt was talking earlier about what kind of jobs are available in Connecticut, you can hone down to the state level, you can look at national level, you can see the trends. And this is a really great opportunity to sort of see what's possible with a degree in digital media and design.
Great, thank you both so much. And I know that the Stanford campus as a whole, right, because I represent a lot of different departments and a lot of different majors and a lot of different staff, the Stanford campus as a whole is very passionate about internships. So this past summer, I know the digital media and design team and myself in admissions hired undergraduate students to be our interns. Due to the pandemic, a lot of students maybe had to say no to their internships, or the company said no. So UConn Stamford said, hey, we want our students to be able to have these opportunities. And I know the DMD team had one, or maybe 2, and so did admissions. And so there are so many great internships. And even if it's not in your field, as a first-year student, I know I have first-year students who are interning at Yale or interning at Walgreens. So different positions that may not be in your field, you are still learning transferable skills. So even if it's just a job at Target or the movie theater, you're still learning skills and networking. You never know who might come into that movie theater and who you might meet. So it's always good to have a job as well, or even be thinking about it starting your freshman year. But the Stanford campus is very passionate about internships as a whole. So thank you both for sharing some exciting things.
You know, if you don't mind, Kimberly, there's one thing I'd like to add. I mean, in the first year, a lot of our students do have opportunities for part-time employment because we're in a city. And I've never known students not find a part-time job as well. So we do differentiate. When I was talking about internships, I'm thinking more about those digital media type internships. The other thing that we haven't referenced, and we should have done a better job at referencing, is the UConn Stamford campus is always looking to kind of get creative and innovative in how it's connecting students to the workplace. And recently, Synchrony, which is actually a technology company, established the Synchrony Innovation Center. There are 3 innovation centers around the country, and one of them is now located at the UConn Stamford campus. And so what does that mean? Well, they employ between 7 and 10 students every single semester. We've been very fortunate in having each semester, we've had a DMD student be placed at Synchrony, and they work around your schedule. So I was speaking to one of these students just a few months ago. They get paid really well. They're mostly in web and interactive media, UI, UX design. But they're taking a class in history of digital culture. It finishes at 12 o'clock, and then they head down and do their internship on the 2nd floor. They have a kind of password protected room they go into. They do 6-7 hours of their internship, and then they do an evening class. So, you know, these types of opportunities is something that UConn Stanford is really aggressively trying to pursue. And I think the Synchrony Innovation Lab is just one of many unique opportunities that will be coming to the UConn Stanford campus.
Very exciting things that are happening. So orientation will happen at the Stanford campus the beginning of June through August, but definitely I would sign up for the earliest session that you can that works for your schedule, because you want to have the time to process your classes and have the most available. So definitely sign up for orientation as early as possible, but just know it doesn't start until I think June 1st is the first session.
And Kimberly, if you don't mind, we have identified 5 orientation sessions that are specific to DMD. So when you go to the orientation session, you will be directed to a DMD specific orientation where you'll meet myself and Wanda Palmer. So we will be there with you, helping you choose classes. And if any new questions have come up, perhaps about computers, we can address those during the orientation session.
And I'm just going to add to that, like, our faculty advisors are outstanding. You know, we call ourselves the DMD family, and it really is like we solve problems, we help give students, we talk to people around campus and sort of get ideas about what kind of classes would help implement as general electives that are still going to help support your major or your interest or your conceptual development, or what kind of stories you want to tell. So I'm really proud of Matt and Wanda and all of the DMD faculty advisors who just do an outstanding job helping students answer their questions and get the right classes.
Great. So the next question that came in is more of a recommendation or a piece of advice. So put on your advisor hats. All right. So the question is, what are some things that a student can do during college, or what can UConn do to help students have a higher chance at getting a job after graduation? So before I turn this over to both of you to share with students your advice, I want to say what Heather and Matt just shared with you is probably the #1 thing that is going to help you be successful: your relationship with the staff and the faculty and our small campus community. So UConn Stanford is a very small community. We have about 2,100 undergraduate students. You're walking in hallways where your faculty members are there, your peers are there. There's the lab space that we're talking about is right there. You're not walking, 20 minutes to classes. You're not in large lecture halls. None of that exists at UConn Stanford, and having those relationships with staff and faculty, or even that part-time job on campus, or even maybe being a tour guide, is building those relationships. And you never know who knows who or what advice somebody might give you. You might say, hey, that's a great idea. So I think having that relationship with your staff and faculty is very important, and that's something that will help students be successful after graduation. All right, that's my little tip. Heather and Matt, I'm turning it over to you.
Why don't you start, Heather?
Yeah, I think the link that I just shared, working closely with career services, the handshake Husky software that Matt mentioned earlier, it has tons of job opportunities that get that internship. And then you're going to, be able to carve out the time to focus on working on your work. So much about getting a job is based on relationships, as Kimberly said, and also your portfolio. So the cool thing is, as a creative field, you're making actual real projects and work. So you're going to be building your portfolio, whether that be an online portfolio. I would say almost all of our students wind up having a website before they graduate that they can highlight their student work that they've created, both in class and also in internships and other experiences. And so I think making the most of that helps a lot. And then again, those relationships that you build.
And I've shared another link. So Heather made a reference to this in the presentation. Our department also leads a statewide initiative called Digital Media CTs. That's a collaboration of 7 institutions in Connecticut, all committed to furthering digital media education and connecting students to their next step in film, television, and digital media. We produced a podcast, so that link takes you to the podcast. And there's an episode called University to Career. And then there's also another episode around freelancing. And in both those episodes, you have successful practitioners in the field and professionals who are talking specifically about this topic, what they are advising students to be thinking about as they're at college. You're in class 16 weeks of the semester. What I would say is that every single student who's at university is in class. So how are you looking at differentiating yourself? You're in a city. Let's kind of like be positive and say over the next 4 years, we will establish going back to some type of normality. The normality of UConn, Stanford as a city is, hackathons and career nights and a whole bunch of different community events taking place at the library and the Stanford Innovation Center, and our students engage in those events, and those events have industry professionals. So Kimberly referenced relationship building. There's opportunities to develop relationship with professionals off campus as a consequence of these events. So that's number one. The second thing, Heather referenced it about the website. You will not get a job without a portfolio. Let's be very, very clear about that. When I interact with someone from WWE or NBC Sports and I try promoting the student, there's one thing they respond. They don't want to see a resume. They say, show me their link to their work. That's all they want to see. So what you've got to be thinking about is when you're not in class, what are you doing to further your skill set, to generate content that differentiates you from other people who are in class producing coursework. Heather made a reference in one of the slides about all of the different film festivals our students are going to. Okay, if you don't have an internship over the summer, that doesn't mean you can't spend the summer renting out equipment from our department and going producing a film or working on an animation project. It's these types of things that help with securing employment. And the final thing that I would say is know your craft. So in these podcasts, a number of professionals specifically say they want to know the student knows about the field. So if you're in motion graphics design, you need to know about motion graphics design. You don't just want to know how to push buttons. You have to understand the industry. You have to understand the players in the industry, and you have to understand some of the artists, award-winning artists who are kind of like doing particularly innovative work in that field. So that would be my recommendations, and that's something that can span the whole 4 years of your time here in the program.
Awesome, thank you. And I think even just thinking about this question is such a great thing and such a great start to begin your college journey, just having that question and thinking about these types of things to do in college. All right, Matt and Heather, I'm turning the next question over to both of you. Can each of you share a class you teach, or maybe your research or a passion that you have in the field of digital media and design? Our students want to get to know you, both of you.
So I can start. I think my biggest thing, I'm a filmmaker and a digital artist, although I wear my administrative hat so often that I don't have much time for it now. But so my passion is now switched to empowering my students and faculty to be able to realize their work. And one of the things I'm most proud of this year that we initiated the Human Rights Film and Digital Media Initiative, where we're learning about, you as a young filmmaker, I know, or a young animator or a young interactive artist, the students are so passionate about making a difference in the world and using the media to do that. So while we have you here for 4 years, it's awesome to be able to think about what kind of difference you can make. And build your portfolio on that. And then after you graduate, you can make whatever kind of work you want. But I encourage you to check out the Human Rights Institute. UConn is one of only 8 universities in the United States that has a major in human rights, and actually the only public institution that has a major in human rights. And actually we're having discussions literally right now about having more Stanford-based classes in human rights as well, because we see from our passionate students that they're very, very engaged and excited about what they can do in that field. So the Human Rights Film and Digital Media Initiative that we launched in the fall, I would say is probably my biggest personal passion. And in fact, tonight at 7, James Coltrane will be presenting his game project on Blackhaven, which is an interactive game that explores an HBU perspective on the South and an old the plantation museum model. So and also we have, like I said in the presentation, the diverse perspectives in digital media and design. So check those out on our website. You can see the content, but that's my passion.
Listen, first of all, you know, I don't mean to be corny, but I want to pick up on the thing that Heather referenced about being a family. I think all of us, and particularly during the pandemic, we spend a lot of time reminding ourselves that we're human. And I'm very proud to say that I enjoy being a parent and a father. And I actually say that because I quite often take some of my research and apply it to my parenting. So I have a blog called dadsforcreativity.com, and I've recently launched a podcast called Fueling Creativity with a colleague from Buffalo State. And I share those two side projects per se, because I think it gives a sense a little bit about who I am. I think Kimberly and the phrasing of the question was also very important, because each of our faculty are passionate about digital media, have a lot of expertise in digital media, but all of us have an area of specialty and a research focus. And that research naturally comes into our curriculum. The values of that research come into our curriculum. So for me, I research this topic of creativity inside design thinking. I'm particularly interested in how design thinking can help with the design and development of effective technological solutions. So when I say effective technological solutions, I'm talking about outcomes that there's some data to show that it actually is effective in addressing the problem it's trying to address. And I try and preach that a lot to my students. So we have some really interesting classes, discussions in my digital foundations classes, my design thinking classes, getting us to think a little bit about, okay, well, why is it creative? Where you can see it as being creative from your perspective, right? Perhaps it could be perceived as creative from the instructor's perspective, but we also have to remember that we're designing an outcome for an audience, a target audience, a group of people that might not actually exist in the classroom. So I raised the question, how do you know it's effective to them? What do you think they think of it? And sometimes we don't have answers to those questions, but it's important that we're aware we don't have answers to those questions. So that's my field. I definitely won't get too much in the weeds about it. I would be more than happy if someone wanted to connect about it and talk about it extensively. But you will see that our research interests find our way into the curriculum. And as Heather points out, she's been spearheading that effort around the Human Rights Institute, because human rights is an important part of something that she cares deeply about as well.
Yeah, and I think it's so exciting because, you know, with Matthew teaching the Foundations in Digital Media Design 1 class right in the fall, you know, he gets to share his passion immediately with all of you in your very first DMD class. And I will tell you, one of the things we really try to do is have our faculty teach their passions, because you gain so much from a faculty member who's excited about what they're teaching and is sharing the new knowledge that they're gaining. So I love that Matt teaches all of you at that first time.
It's also so exciting because Matt is meeting all of you. I know we can't all see your faces, but you can all see Matt's faces. So when you connect with him during orientation and the rest of the team, you'll be able to say, hey, I know a little bit about you, or I know a little bit about the program, which I think is very exciting for us. All right, so I think we have time for maybe one more question. So as all of you are typing in your final questions, and again, I will definitely provide you some contact information so you can reach out, because I know when I ask 10,000 times, what questions do you have? What questions do you have? You're like, I will not know my question until the minute you close the program, or until I'm sitting down at the dinner table, or until I'm taking my dog for a walk. So we are definitely here, and we will make sure that we answer all of your questions no matter when they come up. All right, so let me read the last question for the evening. Can you take all of your classes for the major you choose, but also take specific classes for another field? Great question. So I think this question is bringing in maybe the concentrations that the digital media design program has to offer. So students are receiving a broader degree and they're also having a concentration. Can one of you explain that process? When do students declare a concentration and what can they finish at UConn Stamford?
Yeah, so we try to have our students declare by the end of their freshman year, although we always run into the issue with, registration happening at the end of March, right? And we do a really good job, especially at Stanford, of sort of introducing our freshmen as part of the freshman experience to all of the majors and the faculty that are teaching those majors to sort of give you a taste. I think one of the hardest things, and Matt and I talk about this all the time, is that coming from high school in particular, you don't always know what's possible. Like, what is motion design? What does that even mean? Film is a little more obvious. People kind of know what that is. What is involved in web and interactive media design? So part of our job is sort of opening up all of your minds about the possibilities of what this career could be. And sometimes that does take time. So I think what'll happen often, and actually the pandemic has really brought us together even closer in a lot of ways, because we have had students being able to take classes that aren't offered in Stanford all the time in stores. But generally, Matt, you've done some specific advising on that, but we have students, if you're not sure, to take both intro classes and sort of give a taste.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you don't mind, I'm going to share a personal story because I've been thinking about this recently. First of all, I think we all note that there is more anxiety than there needs to be in today's world about the decisions you're making as a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old and how they're going to impact your future. I really encourage you. You can't take away that anxiety very easily, but I just want to encourage you to give yourselves a little bit of a break and not feel that a decision you're going to make in 2021, I mean, obviously you've got to come to UConn DMD, right? But I want you to kind of like come in not feeling like you have to know exactly what you're doing and have everything mapped out, right? Things are going to change. And I can tell you right now, technology, emerging technology and post-pandemic is going to disrupt industries and continue to force changes. And so, many of our students, I know you've heard this saying before, but we are educating our students for jobs that don't yet exist. The personal story I wanted to share is that I always knew what I wanted to be at 13. And everyone thought that was a benefit to me because I didn't have all of these questions. Unfortunately, my last year of college, or my last semester, I suddenly realized I didn't want to be what I thought I wanted to be. And I asked myself this question. I remember the day I asked myself, what are all the other things I could be? And suddenly I just was like, oh my God, the world is huge. And I suddenly saw all of these different opportunities. So when I see questions that kind of like talk about animation and studios like DreamWorks, absolutely. We have students that are very committed to the field of animation and they envision success in their future at one of these Hollywood animation studios. But what we're going to do in the DMD program, particularly in that first year, is try and force you to get to where I was, which I felt was too late, where I said, what are all the other things that I could be? And specifically, what we're asking you is, what are all the other ways, what are all the other places where I can be an animator? What are all the other problems that I can address as an animator? And you'll realize that your opportunity to be an animator isn't just at DreamWorks or Disney. There are so many other opportunities for you to animate: AR, VR, mixed reality, agencies, marketing, web design, interactive media, the list goes on. So we're here to help you with that, but don't put yourself under too much pressure.
And I think that's the other thing too, is that it's totally true. I think most students coming out of high school don't realize how mixed those industries are. So, I mean, I would say we probably get more animation students employed in game studios than we do in the big box, giant, DreamWorks type places. But we also have students working in design firms doing animation. I mean, and we'll be able to talk about that. I mean, we have one of our faculty at stores worked at DreamWorks for 18 years, Dennis Recchia. So he knows exactly, and he moved from lighting and he was doing 2D animation, and then he was doing modeling and texturing and lighting. And so they're very specific roles. So one of the things we'll teach you about is sort of like breaking down and demystifying what is the industry really like, because it may be that you want to really do that one honed in thing. You want to do, lighting, So you're
Or
holed
fur.
up. You go into, I've been to DreamWorks, you go in there, it's pitch black, there's not a window, and you sit there with controlled lighting with black all around you, and you sit there and you light 3D animated scenes, and that's
For
all.
15 hours.
Yes,
For
if you're
15,
lucky,
for 15
maybe
hours.
20 hours during a deadline.
Yeah.
So that's like when you break down the demystifying, you know, there may be another smaller firm where you have more flexibility, you have a say-so in the story, you can help craft what the character design, you know, like it's very, very, very different depending on what you want. But, you know, our job is, as much as it is to teach you the skills, is also to teach you more about understanding the industry and what's possible. So I think that's really helpful. But I mean, there is definitely flexibility in regards to those intro classes to sort of help figure out. You do have to commit because we have so many classes, and 78 credits for a BFA. You do want to figure that out. But we also have that generalist degree. So for the students who really want to go out and start their own business and kind of do a little bit of everything, you know, we do direct them to that sort of mixed bag, which helps a lot.
Thank you so much for answering all of our students' questions. Participants, we will be calling you, we as in the admissions office will be calling you after this presentation, either probably, what's today, Tuesday, so either Wednesday or Thursday, and seeing if you have any follow-up questions. Is there anything we missed? Can we get you some information about so-and-so or this particular program? So we will definitely call you. So if you think of a question later, and then you will also have our contact information. So then you'll be able to know how to reach us. So we will definitely be reaching out to all of you to thank you for your attendance and to also follow up and see if you have any last minute questions. Well, again, I wanted to thank all of you for your time this evening. Heather and Matt, thank you so much for being with us. Your passion and your knowledge is so exciting to hear. And I'm sure all of our prospective and admitted students learned a lot as well. So thank you both.
Thanks for having us, and thanks everybody for coming. We can't wait to meet you in person or virtually the next time we see you.
Perfect. Well, again, everybody, have a great rest of your evening. Thank you for being with us, and we can't wait to talk with you soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you.